evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. Before this moment, Will is laughing because he hasn't yet found out that his original, genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform.
Bill Maher is turning up the heat after Will Smith's notorious Oscar moment. If you haven't caught Maher's sharp and biting take on Smith's so-called tough guy act, here's the lowdown. He tore into Will mercilessly, revealing that fleeting show of masculinity for what it really was, a staged, over-the-top performance. Buckle up.
Look, I break down jokes for the humor impaired. Not that I have anyone particular in mind. Now, I know we're all sick of talking about the slap, but I'm sorry, one more thing needs to be said. Comedians have been under attack for quite some time, and I need to stick up for my tribe. This war on jokes must end. So tonight, let's Zapruder film this thing once and for all and explain jokes to idiots.
You heard that right. Jokes have long been under attack. First, the awakened crowd set their sights on the film industry, deciding what could be made and what should be banned. Now, their focus has shifted to humor itself, attempting to police what's funny and what isn't. It's as if they're determined to drain all joy from life. But Bill Maher isn't one to stand by when free speech is threatened. He decided it was time to step in, lending his voice and his fiery passion to the growing list of jokes now deemed off limits for the woke audience.
Award and first did what he is supposed to do, get some laughs during what we comics call crowd work. Denzel and Javier Bardem each got spritzed. And then Chris made what in the business is known as a "some shit is like some other shit" joke. He said to Jada Smith, "Jada can't wait for G.I. Jane 2, recalling the late 90s movie starring Demi Moore. That's it. That's the joke. You remind me of some other beautiful, buzz-cutted movie star. It wasn't an alopecia joke any more than the one about the chicken crossing the road is about bird flu."
I have to say, this perspective is genuinely fascinating. I never considered it from this angle before. Sure, I knew about the G.I. Jane movie, but I hadn't really connected Jada's haircut that night, Chris Rock's comment, and the film's depiction of a shaved head. Many of us overlooked the link, even though it's strikingly clear. But here's the key takeaway. Jokes are simply what they are. Treating them like government policy is misplaced. At times, they may sting, and other times they may not. Still, we need to cultivate the ability to shrug them off and take them in stride, especially when they catch us off guard. That, in essence, is the heart of comedy. Now let's move on to the next video.
Humor is also a staple of comedy, and in fact, an example of insulting someone's looks was on display that night when Regina Hall said, "We've been dealing with COVID for 2 years. It's been really hard on people." And Amy Schumer said, "Yeah, just look at Timothée Chalamet," and they cut to J.K. Simmons. Who made a face a lot like the one Jada would make later on. But that's where it ended. It's called being a good sport, especially when you're a rich celebrity. Let the common people take the piss out of you for one stinking minute.
One thing about these award shows is that comedians and hosts now openly roast the rich and powerful. It's almost expected. Part of the fun lies in seeing these celebrities, who usually lead lavish lives and receive endless praise, get taken down a notch by a clever remark. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of watching someone publicly humiliated in front of millions. But comedy has its place in a free society, and I won't act differently. If it bruises someone's ego or ruffles feelings, so be it. Sitting in the front row always comes with a little risk.
So it was received as funny. As as evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. There. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
Confusion takes over at this moment. At first, Will Smith seemed to find Chris Rock's comment about his wife amusing, but when Jada shot him that icy glare, everything changed, and we all know what followed. That split-second shift reveals a lot about the tension between Hollywood and the woke crowd. Many famous figures quietly oppose the causes they publicly champion, yet, like Smith under pressure, they feel forced to comply. A silent threat lingers. Push too far and you risk both your reputation and your career. Their actions aren't guided by conviction, they're driven by fear. And it's all too easy to see why.
Because he hasn't yet found out that his original genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform to a different view. And he's the one who's being manly? I've seen the same syndrome happen in comedy clubs. Woke hecklers who literally have to wait for the laughter to die down before they yell, "That's not funny."
Will Smith may have believed that defending his wife and publicly refusing to tolerate disrespect was a show of strength. On the surface, it might appear honorable, but it wasn't. On that Oscar stage, it was less about courage and more about surrender. True strength isn't measured by slapping someone on live television. It's about standing by your principles when it matters most. Instead of reacting impulsively, Smith could have simply smiled at the joke, yet Jada's icy glare rewrote his actions. That single look shifted the entire scene, turning what might have been a bold display of love into a moment of weakness, revealing a man more focused on appeasing his wife than staying true to himself.
Must end. Will Smith didn't get kicked out of the Oscars for going Ike Turner on Chris, but Kevin Hart got kicked out of hosting it for a joke. Who are these people who say cancel culture isn't a real thing? Just among comedians who've gotten fired and lost gigs for exercising their freedom of expression. The toll is high. Gilbert Gottfried and Kathy Griffin were tasteless. So what? That's why we like them.
Even if a joke is offensive, outdated, or simply unfunny, that doesn't mean it should be erased. Comedy has always pushed boundaries and made people uncomfortable. That's part of its nature. The easiest way to avoid it? Skip the shows, don't buy the tickets, and scroll past specials online. One group's offense shouldn't silence everyone because humor is deeply subjective. Comedians have the right to say what they want, even if it isn't universally accepted. If someone genuinely crosses the line into criminal behavior, the proper authorities, not social media mobs or cancel campaigns, should handle it. In the meantime, the simplest approach is the best. If you don't like it, ignore it and move on. That's what true freedom of choice looks like.
Where the line is. We can't always be perfect any more than Tom Brady will never throw an interception. Dave Chappelle lost distribution for his documentary, and Sarah Silverman was fired from a film over an old sketch where she wore blackface to make fun of racism. Roseanne lost the TV show she created with her name on it over tweets that were very offensive, but not at all clear Roseanne knew them to be. She is crazy, and I say that as a friend.
Sarah Silverman's story genuinely moved me. She never intended to demean or mock Black people with that controversial blackface illustration. Her goal was to highlight the harsh realities of racism and the deep harm it inflicts on individuals and society. She employed satire, one of comedy's oldest and sharpest tools, to make a point that went beyond mere humor. Yet, as so often happens, the ever-watchful woke crowd missed the nuance entirely. They pursued her relentlessly, letting outrage take precedence over understanding, focusing on the image rather than the message. Ironically, by trying to spark a conversation about racism, Silverman became a target of the very cultural enforcers who claim to champion critical thought. Her experience underscores the awakened mob's unwillingness to forgive, even when someone shares their underlying values.
Patel was literally pulled off stage during a performance at Columbia for a joke about how hard it is to be gay and black. Not an anti-gay joke, mind you, a pro-gay joke. But one of the event organizers walked on stage and said, "I don't think you're entitled to certain jokes you're making." Well, a sense of entitlement certainly is a big part of the problem here, but not on the part of the comedian.
Things start to get truly fascinating and frankly, a bit bizarre at this point. Comedian Nomesh Patel was literally kicked off the stage mid-performance after making a joke that actually aligned with the woke audience's perspective, not because he insulted anyone. Think about that for a moment. How is that even possible? People often seem to reach a point where nothing satisfies them, laugh at them, and you're in trouble. But even crafting a joke that matches their views can be seen as offensive. Comedians are essentially walking a tightrope with no solid ground beneath them. They get condemned either way. Patel's experience highlights how control over the comic space has become more important than the content itself, and it's a precarious, risky place to be.
Take a joke now. Aren't old ladies in the Bible Belt? They're Gen Z at elite colleges. Colleges where comedy goes to die. Kids used to go to college and lose their virginity. Now they go to lose their sense of humor.
It's striking how far schools have drifted from their original mission. These institutions were meant to be havens of free thought, places where ideas clashed, debates sparked, and students sharpened their critical thinking by engaging with opposing viewpoints. That was the heart of higher education, exposure to diverse perspectives to build independent reasoning. Yet today, many campuses have turned into echo chambers. They've become so progressive that dissenting opinions are seen not just as unwelcome, but as dangerous. Students are being taught to avoid criticism rather than confront it, to interpret disagreement as a personal attack instead of a chance to grow. The result? A generation that has rarely faced real opposition has become more hostile to differing views, not because those views are flawed, but because they are foreign. And that is something everyone should find concerning.
College bookers who revealed that before a comedian even takes the stage, they're asked to edit out anything from their act that may cause offense, leaving a world where more and more topics are off limits, and soon there'll be nothing left to joke about except airline food and Starbucks getting your name wrong.
It's hard to deny the value of Donald Trump's efforts to push colleges to dismiss professors whose goal seems more about indoctrination than education. For years, universities have faced criticism for allowing some instructors to turn classrooms into political stages, urging students to embrace one viewpoint while dismissing all others. Education should focus on equipping students with critical thinking, debating skills, and the ability to form their own opinions, not drowning them in biased messaging. By highlighting this problem and pressing institutions to act, Trump is addressing a long overdue issue. Colleges should remain places of curiosity and independent thought. Indoctrinators must be removed to restore balance and genuine learning. Ultimately, comedy, free speech, and education all suffer when an agitated audience dictates what can and cannot be expressed. From Will Smith's Oscar moment to Sarah Silverman's satirical work, from Nomesh Patel's interrupted performance to controversies on college campuses, the pattern is clear. Fear and restriction are replacing courage and open dialogue. Celebrities, comedians, and students alike feel the pressure to conform. True progress comes only when free conversation is allowed, even when it's uncomfortable. That wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the bell and give us a thumbs up to be notified when we post similar content. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you in the next one.